Hey guys, you are watching your anime world. How are you all? Please support to subscribe this channel for watching new interesting stories. So in this video, we will see what if Deku and Ochako discovered the magic of Christmas. Here is short summary. As Deku and Ochako celebrate Christmas and her birthday together, they discover that the true magic of the season lies in love, laughter, and unforgettable moments. But before we start, if you want more stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe and like this video. And if possible, share this video with your friends. Now let's start the story. As snow blankets UA's campus, Ochako Uraraka finds herself facing a bittersweet Christmas, the first she'll spend away from her family. With travel restrictions preventing her from returning home, she struggles with loneliness despite her friends' support. However, one persistent, kind-hearted classmate refuses to let her spend the holidays alone. Determined to show her gratitude, Ochako pours her heart into crafting a special gift for him, a handmade scarf, woven with warmth, care, and feelings she barely dares to name. As Christmas Eve arrives, will the magic of the season, and the warmth of an unexpected holiday together, help her realize just how much she means to him? A heartwarming story of love, friendship, and the true spirit of Christmas. I really hope he likes this gift, though. It took a while, but I think I managed to get it down exactly how I wanted it. She thought as she set her needles down and held the muffler up with both hands, inspecting it for any missed stitches, and pausing with a smile at the English initials, I.M., added on the tail ends of the crimson cloth. Excellent. It's ready. Just need to box it up and give it to him. Who would have thought that a Christmas special from an old martial arts anime would give me the perfect idea for what to give to him? Though thankfully I'm a much better knitter than that violent tsundere girl in the show. I wonder why it's so hard for her to admit that she really likes that weird pigtailed guy. Knock knock. Uraraka, it's me. Just wanted to know if you're all set for when we leave. Can I come in? A familiar voice called out from behind her door, causing her to perk up considerably as she turned to the source of the voice with a massive smile. Coming, Deku, she chirped, grabbing a decorated box from underneath her desk, sealing the muffler in it, and placed it inside her suitcase beside her desk, the box barely able to fit due to how full and small the storage unit was. Frowning slightly at the sight of it, she sighed and shook her head briefly before she rushed to the door and happily opened it to see the smiling form of her best friend and boyfriend, Izuku Midoriya, holding a pair of steaming mugs of hot chocolate with whipped cream and wearing a red Santa hat, a little something that she found for him during their last date. It has been quite some time since the two friends had gotten together and Ochako enjoyed every second of it. She enjoyed the time she spent with him, whether it was a date at the beach or a training session in the gym. The pair supported each other and their respective dreams, confided in one another and shared each other's secrets, and both constantly encouraged one another to do their best in whatever challenges they faced. They weren't a perfect couple by any means. They had no experience when it came to relationships, so many mistakes were made, and the occasional argument had occurred now and then, but they were determined to make it work and take everything in stride. Thankfully, though, they were making good progress, even with all the drama and difficulties that had become the norm in their lives. Ochako couldn't be happier with her new relationship with Izuku, and she knew he felt the same if his adamant decision to bring her to his home for Christmas was any indication. Hey. Sorry to bother you, Uraraka. Sato made some hot chocolate for whoever's left and gave me a cup for you since I was on my way to see you. You weren't busy, were you? Izuku asked as he entered the room and handed her a cup. Not really. Just working on a personal project of mine since I already finished packing. It's pretty much done, though, so it's all good, Ochako assured as she grabbed her mug, taking a long sip out of it and hummed in satisfaction after she finished. So yummy. Sato really does make the best hot chocolate, huh? Uraraka, Izuku called out, prompting her to turn to him and raising an eyebrow at his shaky smile. It looked like he was preventing himself from laughing for some reason. Before she could ask what was wrong, he lifted his hand and pointed a finger at her face, then at her mug, before covering his mouth to stifle his laughter. Confusion growing, she moved her free hand to her face, and gasped in shock when she felt something soft and creamy on her upper lips. Wah, oh, darn it, not again. she cried out as she hastily removed the foamy mustache she accidentally made, just as Izuku finally managed to control his laughter. Haha, you didn't have to do that. It looked good on you. Honest, he teased with a light smile, a rare occurrence from the usually timid teen that she had come to both love and loathe. Oh yeah, well let's see how you like it, she announced, swiping a bit of cream off her chocolate and pressed it on his nose with a boop, startling him. Satisfied with catching him off guard, she stepped back to admire her handiwork, and began sputtering out in laughter when his deadpan expression mixed with the white nose and red Santa hat became too much for her. Again, really, what's with you and booping my nose like that? He asked with a false annoyed while as he wiped the foam from his nose, smiling wryly as he did. Hey, you laughed at me with my foamy mess, now it's my turn, she teased with a grin of her own and playfully sticking her tongue out at him, making him shake his head in response as she plopped herself on the bed and gave it a pat to the empty spot beside her. All right, fair enough, Izuku laughed, getting the message and joined her on the bed before taking a sip of his own, looking at her in wonder. So, are you looking forward to Christmas with me and Mom tomorrow? I know it's not the same as spending the break with your family, but we're happy that you accepted my invitation. I know Mom's really excited for you to come, tonight. Definitely, Deku, I'm so happy that you were persistent in having me over. I definitely would have been lonely staying here by myself. Really, thank you for letting me stay, Ochako said kindly, placing a hand over her guest's own hand and gave it a soft squeeze, a small, grateful smile on her face as she stared at him. It's no problem, I'd do anything for you, Izuku responded in kind, returning the squeeze with one of his own, before a look of curiosity formed on his face. By the way, what kind of project are you working on? Does it involve hero work or something similar? Nah, it's nothing like that. It's just a little thing I do to pass the time when I'm not swamped with homework or hero business, she explained as she took another sip of her chocolate before giving her mug to Izuku for a bit. She then reached under her bed and pulled out a box. Smiling at Izuku's curious expression, she opened it to reveal several knitted hats and scarves, all seemingly handmade. Izuku let off a startled gasp at the sight of it, and Ochako couldn't help but smile proudly at her handiwork. Oh wow, that's a lot of scarves and hats. Where did you get all of them? He asked, looking at the girl in surprise. I made them, knitted them all by myself, she stated with pride as she pulled out a pink wool cap and placed it on her head whilst pointing at her desk, which still held her knitting gear. Whenever I need a new scarf or hat to keep me warm, I try and find time to make some instead of going off to buy replacements. The yarn I need is much cheaper and easier to find, and I can be really creative in how I design my stuff. My mom taught me how to knit when I was a kid and I think I've gotten pretty good at it, if I do say so myself. Oh wow, that's pretty cool, Uraraka. I didn't know you knew such a handy skill. Do you make other stuff besides hats and scarves? Izuku asked, his eyes shining with a mix of curiosity and amazement that it brought out a small bit of laughter out of her as she removed her hat and placed it on her lap. Well, I can make mittens and sweaters but I'm not that good at them. The mittens take a long time to make because I have to tailor them to my quirk, and I need Mom's help when it comes to making sweaters, but they always end up super awesome when we're done. Even the ugly Christmas ones that we make for everyone is a joke. I think you'll like them, they're seriously funny, Ochako said with a grin as she returned the box back under her bed and took her mug back, happy to be the cause of her boyfriend's excitement. I can't wait to see them. I hope I get to wear one of your handmade gear sometime, Izuku exclaimed before realizing what he said and turned away from Ochako with a nervous blush on his face, much to her confusion, before speaking up once more in a soft tone. Ah, you not that I'm expecting you to make me something, you know. Why you don't have to if you don't want to, of course. It's just, I think it would be nice to wear something that you made, I guess, it probably feel really good, since it was created by your hands. I promise to take good care of it, too. If you actually do it, I mean. That earnest, hopeful look on his face brought a small smile on Ochako's face. Even after all this time, he still had trouble with the romantic part of their dating life. In fact, It was only up until recently that he was finally able to initiate their kiss without looking like a tomato in the process. She loved it when he tried to act romantic, even when he was failing miserably at it, since it showed how much he meant to her. Normally she would tease him a little when he was acting in such a manner, enjoying and laughing at his flustered reactions, but she decided to forego it for today, since it was Christmas Eve. Instead, she turned her head to her suitcase, staring at it for a brief moment, before focusing her attention back to Izuku and smiled softly at him. "No worries, Deku, you'll be getting something from me soon enough. Ya just have to be patient for a bit," she assured, leaning up to his face and gave him a quick key on the cheek, making his blush even brighter, much to her amusement. It was at that moment, however, that Izuku's phone went off, startling them both. Flustered, the teen reached into his pocket and pulled out his device, his eyes going wide as soon as he saw it, and turned to Ochako with an apologetic expression. Sorry, Uraraka, but I have to take this. I might be a while, too. Do you mind waiting for me in the common room? We'll head out when I'm done with this," Izuku requested, looking quite nervous to the gravity girl, who could only stare at him curiously before slowly nodding her head. "Sure, Deku. Go do what you need. I'll be downstairs when you're ready," Ochako agreed, confusion welling up within her even after hearing his thanks and feeling him pecking her cheek before rushing out the room, leaving his mug behind. It was truly odd to see him act like that, but couldn't dwell on it for too long. It was nearly time to go, after all, so with a shrug to herself, she grabbed her suitcase, along with a thick pink sweater, the wool hat that was on her lap, and the now empty mugs before proceeding to head downstairs. I wonder what that was all about. Deku was acting super weird just now, she thought as she made her trek, a perplexed expression on her face as she let her curiosity of her boyfriend's actions loose. He looked super nervous about something, too. I haven't seen him act like that in a while. Did something happen? Is his mom sick? Nah, that can't be it. If she was, he would have told me. Geez, now he's got me all worried. I hope everything's okay. Boom, boom, asterisk, electrodolt, get your back here so that I can kill you. Like hell am I gonna let you do that? Huh, Ochako grunted, surprised by the sounds of shouting and explosions coming from behind, and turned her head to see a couple streaks of yellow before she suddenly got blindsided by a couple of reckless, and familiar, teens, the small trio tumbling down the stairs in a spectacular fashion before crashing into the common room, leaving the poor girl dazed with her eyes spinning, wondering what just happened. Shoot, sorry, Uraraka, didn't see you there, trying to get away from Explodo King here. I'll make it up to you after break, so see you gotta go by. Kaminari apologized, his words going faster as he spoke, before he got up from the floor and bolted from the ground, Bakugo following suit and looking angrier than before. Not enough that you went and ruined the presents I had to get for my damn folks, but now you had me crash into freaking doll face, too. You're dead when I catch you. Do you hear me? The explosion teen exclaimed, making the poor girl's ears ring by how loud he was shouting as she let off a soft groan on the floor. Oh my, young Uraraka, are you okay? You are not hurt, are you? A kind voice spoke up to the downed girl, prompting her to look up to see the former number 1 hero kneeling down at her with a hand down to help her up, which she accepted gratefully. I'm okay, sir. Just a little dazed, is all. Nothing broken whatsoever, the girl assured as she stood up, grabbing her slightly open suitcase from the floor before noticing a few white shards on the ground and winced at the sight. Well, other than the mugs. Oh my, that looks dangerous. Best to clean that up before anyone steps on the broken pieces. Toshinori muttered, procuring a small hand broom and dustpan and proceeded to sweep up the little mess that was made with ease, all while Ochako was looking at him oddly. Sir, not to be rude or anything, but why did you have that stuff with you on hand? She couldn't help but ask as she pointed at the cleaning supplies in her teacher's hands. You'd be surprised by how much mess I've had to clean today, young Uraraka. Everyone scrambling to leave for home for break has left everyone a little scatterbrained at the moment. A trend that you seem to be following as well if your open suitcase is any indication. The man stated, pointing at said suitcase with his broomed hand before walking over to a nearby trash bin to toss the shards. Blinking a couple times at his words, Ochako turned to her small case to see that, indeed, it had popped open during the fall. Eyes going wide, she looking up and down the stairs to see if anything had fallen off, but found nothing of note. Frowning at the lack of any of her possessions out in the open, she walked back down to her suitcase and looked down at it curiously. Huh, looks like nothing fell out. That's good at least. I don't know what I would have done if I had dropped anything important. Especially Deku's present. The girl thought in relief before an odd feeling began forming at the back of her head, causing her to continue staring at her pack curiously. Then again, it can't hurt to check to see if I really am missing anything. Just in ca. Uraraka. A worried voice called out to the girl, causing her to jump in surprise as a hatless Izuku rushed down the stairs and to her side, startling her in the process. I heard a crash just now and Jiro told me that Kachan's chasing Kaminari for breaking his parents' gifts. Up okay. Did you get hurt? He didn't blow you up for getting in the way, did he? I'm fine, Deku. We just stumbled down the stairs together. Only thing that broke were the mugs, and they didn't cut me. It's all good, Ochako assured, giving her fretting boyfriend an easy smile as she absent-mindedly zipped up her suitcase. She is correct, young Midoriya. I checked her before cleaning up the broken shards of the mugs and I can assure you that Uraraka has not sustained any injuries whatsoever. Toshinori confirmed, walking up to the couple with a bony smile of reassurance, allowing Izuku to let off a sigh of relief. Okay, that's good, the timid teen muttered before looking down at Ochako with an apologetic expression. Sorry about earlier. Had an important call that I had to take and I couldn't ignore it. Hope it didn't bother you. Don't sweat it, Deku. I understand. You got everything taken care of, though, right? Ochako asked. I did. I even got my stuff during the call, so I'm ready to go when you are. Izuku said, holding up his suitcase with a smile. I'm good, too. Let's go and see your mom. I can't wait to see what she's done to the place. Ochako asked eagerly, practically bouncing on the balls of her feet at the prospect of the possible decorations that were in her boyfriend's home. Haha, sounds like you two are going to have quite a bit of fun during break. Toshinori announced, patting the couple on the shoulders. You two enjoy yourselves and stay safe, you hear? We will. Thanks, All Might, the couple assured, giving the man wide smiles, before turning to each other happily and unaware of the teacher's curious gaze as he stared at the floor. Well, time to go to my place. Shall we? Izuku asked, holding a gloved hand out to Ochako, who stared at it briefly before looking up to him brightly. Of course, let's, she exclaimed, reaching into her pockets quickly and put on a set of thick mittens before grabbing the offered appendage excitedly, prompting the pair to leave to their destination, missing a certain former hero looking back at them with a perplexed, and mildly concerned, expression. Along with a long, partially opened red box with a few pieces of crimson string sticking out of it in his hand. Later, Midoriya residence. Well, here we are. Good thing we made it here before the snow got worse, huh? Izuku asked as he and Ochako made it to the entrance of his home, having just arrived as the once gentle snowfall now became much heavier, reducing visibility quite a bit. No kidding. I love snow, but this is kinda ridiculous, Ochako laughed, looking back at the raging snow behind her and shivered a bit, scooching herself closer to Izuku in order to keep herself warm. I agree. Let's hurry and get inside. I'm sure Mom's worried about us, right now, Izuku said, holding her close and using his free hand to reach the door. Before he could grab the handle, however, the door suddenly flew open, revealing a teary-eyed Inko Midoriya looking at the stunned couple in surprise. Ah, I thought I heard you two just now. Oh, thank God, you two made it. When the weather report said that the snow was going to get worse, I got worried and rushed to the door to see if you two made it. I'm so glad you made it here safe. The mother exclaimed, waterfalls of tears falling from her eyes as she went and embraced the pair tightly, utterly happy that her son and his girlfriend had managed to get home. Haha, we're home, Mom. Sorry for making you worry, Izuku said in a strained tone, returning the hug with one hand. Yeah, and thanks for letting me stay with you. I really appreciate it, Inko, even if I being stubborn about it before, Ochako said as she also returned the hug, feeling a little guilty at her past rebuttals now that she was in the arms of the lovable woman before her. "Oh, it's no trouble, dear. I am well aware and proud of how independent you are. I assure you that you being here is more than okay. You are not a burden to me nor my little Izu, and you never will be," Inko assured, ending the embrace to stare at the young heroine softly with Izuku silently nodding along in agreement. Ochako couldn't help but tear up slightly at the words. She had heard them before from both her and Izuku in the past. Multiple times in fact. However, it didn't lessen the effect it had on her. She was feeling a little overwhelmed by emotion, and wanted to hug the woman before her, but had to restrain herself lest she ruin the presents in her hand, so she simply nodded with a bright smile on her face along with a soft thanks, which made Inko even happier if her wider smile was any indication. "You're welcome, sweetie. Now, let's head inside. I have plenty of piping hot cookies and some tea made to warm you up. Hurry in, you two," the woman insisted, causing the couple to laugh a little at her energy, before accepting the invitation and entered the home. Once inside, they were greeted by decorations of all kinds in the small apartment, ranging from little holiday trinkets and snowflakes on the walls, to brightly colored lights on the ceiling. There was a decorated tree sitting in the corner of the room, and pinned to the wall beside it were a trio of red stockings with the names Inko, Izuku, and even Ochako written on them, the last one causing the girl in question to gasp in surprise while the mother turned to her with a warm smile. "As soon as Izuku told me you were coming, I went and got one for you. I want you to feel like you're part of the family during your stay here, sweetie," Inko explained, gently squeezing the teary-eyed girl's shoulder, before heading into the kitchen to grab the snacks. "You going to be okay, Uraraka?" Izuku asked softly as he took off his coat and gloves and placed them on a nearby coat rack, taking Ochako's snow gear as well after she took them off. "I'll be fine. It's just, your mom's super awesome, ya know. She really does go above and beyond, doesn't she? I can see where you get it from," Ochako explained in a quiet tone, a wavering smile on her face as she stared at her host, who nodded back at her with his own smile. "Yeah, she is pretty awesome, huh? I'm lucky to have a mother like her," Izuku agreed, the pair taking off their shoes and proceeded to head further into the home. "You're staying in my room for the break, so you can put your suitcase there, if you want. You remember where it is, don't you?" "I do. Kinda hard to forget such a geeky room, after all," she said with a teasing grin, getting a chuckle out of him in response, before grabbing his suitcase along with her own. "I'll go ahead and put our stuff in your room. You go and catch up with your mom. I'm sure she'll love to hear about everything you've done so far." "Are you sure? I can put away my own things, if you want. You don't need to do this," Izuku asked, backing down, though when Ochako shook her head in response to his request. "It's all good, Deku. I can handle a couple suitcases no problem. See," she assured, demonstrating her point by touching both bags and making them float before grabbing them by the handles with one hand. "No worries, here, go have fun with your mom. I'll catch up." "All right, if you're sure." Izuku relented with his own headshake, looking amused by her antics, before the pair entered further into the home to their respective destinations. As Izuku turned to the kitchen to talk to Inko, Ochako made her way towards the familiar sight of Izuku's bedroom door, smiling at the All Might-themed nameplate that was hanging on it. Giggling at the ridiculous design, she opened the door and was greeted by the familiar sight of All Might memorabilia of all makes, shapes, sizes. Despite seeing it all before, she couldn't help but sweat drop a little at the reminder of how much her boyfriend practically worshipped the former hero. "Still worships, if I have to be honest," she thought in amusement as she released her zero gravity from the suitcases, letting them fall on the bed before heading to her own suitcase with a hum and rifling through it for a certain package she hid in it. "Not that I blame him, really. All Might really is a super cool hero, especially after everything he's done for Deku. He even gave him a chance to achieve his dream at the cost of his own fame and power. If that doesn't show how much of a good person and wonderful hero he is, I don't know what wait a minute." Ochako's thoughts trailed off as she realized something was off. As she was shifting through her suitcase, she had yet to feel Izuku's present at all. Panic flowing through her, She fully opened her case and began frantically rummaging through it, throwing her clothes every which way without care and inadvertently making them float. Tears began welling up in her eyes as she practically emptied her entire suitcase of its contents, with no hide or hair of the present at all. It was then that she recalled her stumble back at the dorms, and realized in horror of what must have happened. Crap, the present must have flown off my case when Kaminari and Bakugo crashed into me. Why didn't I see it when I was looking around the stairs? How far did it fly off? Why the heck did I not bother to check to see if it was still there after I fell? The girl thought hysterically before forcing herself to stop, taking multiple deep breaths to calm down, and released her hold over her clothes, letting them all fall on Izuku's bed, and took out her phone to check the time. Okay, the trains are still running. If I hurry up and leave now, I'm sure I'll be able to. Uraraka, is everything okay? She heard Izuku called out, startling her greatly to the point where she practically jumped to the ceiling, surprising the young man as well. Deku, what are you doing here? The girl exclaimed, silently wondering how things could get any worse. I just wanted to see how you were doing. I didn't mean to scare you. Honest, Izuku explained in a desperate manner before a concerned expression formed on his face, making Ochako wince once she saw it. What happened, though? Why are your clothes all scattered around my bed? Were you looking for something in your suitcase? I was, but I think I know where it is. Deku, is it okay if I go back to the dorms really quick? I promise I won't be too long. Ochako begged, hoping that he would allow him to go, but grew even more worried when she saw the uncomfortable look on his face. Uraraka, I hate to tell you this, but the trains shut down early today, Izuku said with a touch of guilt, practically shattering the poor girl's world as he went on to explain. You see, the snow outside has started to get even worse. It's practically a blizzard now, and a warning's been made to keep people who don't have a quirk to combat the weather inside. The train we took was actually the last one because of that, and now all other trains are closed as a result, meaning we can't go back to the dorms for anything. Even if we wanted to. No, you got to be kidding me, Ochako whimpered, feeling tears welling up in her eyes once more as she collapsed on her knees and hugged herself tightly in despair. Of all the rotten luck, why did this had to happen today of all days? I can't believe this. Uraraka, Izuku called out, prompting the girl to look up at him, and gasped a little in surprise when she saw him kneeling right in front of her, his eyes full of compassion and concern as he placed a hand on her shoulder in comfort. Uraraka, it's okay. You don't need to be upset. I'm sure whatever it is you lost, we can get it back soon. It's really important to you, I can tell, so the first chance we get, we'll go back to the dorms and look for it. I promise. No, Deku, it's okay. You don't need to go that far, Ochako assured, feeling incredibly guilty for how she acted before letting off a tired sigh and leaned into him, her head resting on his chest and feeling somewhat better when she felt his arms wrap around her. Seriously, though, it's fine. I was just being silly and overreacting to something stupid. Don't sweat it. Oh. Uraraka. The deep tone Izuku used to say her name made her stiffen in surprise, not expecting him to call her out so suddenly or fiercely. It was then that she realized that she couldn't hide anything to him anymore. He knew her too well, even before they got together. There was no use keeping her feelings down anymore, he wouldn't let her. Instead, she relented, allowing herself to be honest with both herself and her best friend, and hoped that he wouldn't judge her too harshly. It's your Christmas gift, Deku. The thing that I was looking for like a madwoman was the gift I got for you, she finally confessed, frowning when he felt her boyfriend stiffen in surprise by the revelation. It probably fell off when the guys knocked me down the stairs, but I didn't realize I lost until we got here. As soon as I noticed it wasn't here, I freaked out for the most part, and when you told me that the trains shut down early because of the weather, it felt like my whole world shut down. The gift I got you, something that I worked super hard to get it perfect, is back at the dorms with me having no way to get it back. For all I know, someone could have found it and either kept it or put it in the school's lost and found, and with us being in break, now, I doubt I'll be able to get it back ever again. She then let off another sigh, holding back tears as she continued to explain. Like I said, it's a really stupid reason to be upset. I just wanted to celebrate my first Christmas with you, both as your best friend and your girlfriend. I wanted it to be amazing, to be special. When you first asked me to stay with you for the break, I was super happy, but I didn't want to burden you and your mother or mess up any traditions you two might have had. You didn't give up, though, like always, and eventually you wore me down, and you have no idea how grateful I was that you convinced me to be with you. I wanted to repay you for that by getting you an amazing gift, something to say thanks for everything you done, and now I can't even do that. Sorry for being such a downer right now, Deku, but I can't help but feel a little stupid about all this. Feels like I really screwed up our Christmas this year, huh? No, you didn't screw anything up at all, Izuku suddenly shouted, making Ochako flinch in his grasp. Oh, sorry for shouting, but you're wrong, Uraraka. You didn't mess up Christmas for us, and it's definitely not stupid for you to be upset about this. If what happened to you happened to me, I'd be acting just like you. You shouldn't be ashamed of yourself for feeling like this, it's completely natural. And besides, even if you weren't able to get me a present this year, it's okay. In fact, it doesn't really matter me if you were able to get me a gift or not. Do you know why? Ochako couldn't answer that question, at least not vocally. She was too caught up in his words to speak properly, so she simply shook her head, urging him to continue, and what he said in response was not something she expected him to say, but was something she definitely needed to hear. Because you are here, with me, and I am more than content with that, Ochako, Izuku answered, his face becoming red as soon as he said those words while Ochako's own face started to heat up immensely in response. When you found out you couldn't go home for the break, you looked so upset, so devastated, it hurt me to see you that way, and I wanted to make you feel better, but I didn't know how. At least not right away. Then everyone began suggesting you stay with them or they stick around in the dorm with you, but you kept turning the offers down, saying that you didn't want to bother them. You even turned down my offer initially, but I didn't want you to have a lonely Christmas. I didn't want you to be alone the whole time, so I kept trying, hoping you would say yes, and by some miracle, you did, and it made me super happy that you accepted my invitation. Honestly, I consider that to be my gift from you, to be able to spend the break with you. I don't need anything fancy from you to make this Christmas to be special, all I need is you. The moment those words were said, Ochako couldn't help herself. She wrapped her arms around the sweet boy before her and hugged him tightly, muttering, "I'm sorry," and "thanks," over and over again as she let herself cry from his words. She felt his hold on her tighten and couldn't help but respond in kind. What he said truly touched her, warmed her heart, and made her fall for him all over again. It was rare, truly rare, for him to say such things with such conviction. She knew he cared, she could see it in his eyes and actions whenever they were together, but to actually hear him say such things, it was more than she could ever imagine. And saying all of that on Christmas Eve of all days. It was the most romantic thing he had ever done for her, and while she still felt bad that she left her present back at the dorm, it wasn't as bad as it was initially. Like him, she was happy to be spending Christmas with each other, and she was going to make the most of it from now on. "Ah, that's right, I left it here," she heard him mutter before he ended the embrace, and was now looking at her with a mix of sheepishness and anticipation. Uraraka, I know what I said just now, about not needing any presents to make this Christmas great, but I did get you something. I left it here after I convinced you to stay over so that I wouldn't lose it, and I want you to open it now. Is it okay? Yeah, Deku, it's okay. I'm sure I'll love whatever it is you got me, Ochako assured with a soft smile, feeling much better than ever before as she watched him light up and rush over to his desk, opening it up and pulling out a rectangular box from it, before heading back to her with a shaky smile. Well, I know how barren your room is back at the dorms. A, and I know why you keep it that way. B, but I figured that, well, maybe you might want a little something that helped make the place a little brighter, I guess. So here, I hope you like it. Izuku all but shouted in the end and practically shoved the present onto her, making her blink a couple times in surprise before looking down at the box curiously. It's not heavy. I wonder what he got me. Hopefully it's nothing too extravagant. I'd feel super guilty if he did, she wondered as she slowly opened the box. As soon as she saw its contents, she gasped in shock, and slowly picked up, being ever so gentle with it so she wouldn't break it. It was a silver picture frame. A simple, yet classy one with an infinity symbol on the top and bottom of the frame. Within the frame, however, was a pair of images that instantly made her well up again. One photo was of the two of them in their hero attire, beaming proudly at the camera while holding up a hand each in the V pose. The other one was of them in normal date attire. Her in her MHA shirt and jacket combo with her hair up and him with his green polo and matching open sweater, both of them hugging each other and smiling softly at the direction of the camera. She began to tear up as she recalled the time when the images were taken. The first after a successful patrol and nabbing a bunch of villains with Deku, where she convinced Suyu to take a picture of them after being let go for the day, while the second was from a trip to a photo booth during one of the more fun dates they had, with the embracing image being the last one they took. Both of these images were their personal favorites, the hero one being Izuku's while the date one was hers, but to have full versions of them in the palm of her hands. And being given to them by her boyfriend of all people. It was nothing short of amazing to her. I got that idea from that old anime Christmas special that Kirishima had us watch a while back. You know, the one with the martial artist that changes gender when hit with water. When the main guy gave the tsundere girl the frame with the picture of their friends, it gave me the idea to do the same thing. I wanted to make it more personal, though, so I used our two favorite photos of us instead. I hope you like it, Izuku said, making Ochako's eyes go wide when she realized that they both had the same source of inspiration, and couldn't help but let out a choked laugh. Are you kidding? Of course, I do. This is so awesome. Now I can see this and remember all the fun and excitement we had on the days we took these whenever I need a pick-me-up from studying. I love this present so much. Thank you, Deku, she exclaimed, giving her startled boyfriend the tightest hug she could muster and gave him a loud kiss on the cheek, giggling at his surprised squeaking while a few remaining tears fell from her face. Oh my, what's going on here? A shocked voice spoke up, making the couple jump slightly before turning to the door, where they saw Inko looking at them with wide eyes and a hand over her mouth, and immediately scrambled away from each other in embarrassment and surprise. Oh, hi, Inko. Sorry about the mess. Here, I was, looking for something in my suitcase and I kinda went overboard. I'll clean it up in a bit, though. No worries, Ochako explained, scratching the back of her head nervously as she and Izuku stood up from the floor, both red in the face by what just happened. It's fine, dear, as long as you're okay. And I see Izuku has already given you his present. You must have been so happy when he gave it to you if that hug and key I saw now was any indication. Inko said with a kind smile, her words bringing a blush to the girl as she recalled her bold action, but she couldn't help but smile as she heard the words. Yup, and he was super sweet about it, too. You raised a wonderful son here, Inko, and I'm happy he chose me to be his girlfriend. Ochako confessed without shame, her words making the mother gasp in happiness and her boyfriend sputter a little before her mood fell a bit as she eyed the thrown clothes and sighed. I just wish I had my present for him. I dropped it back at the dorms and I didn't notice until I got here, which is why everything's like this. I worked really hard on it too, and now I won't get the chance to give it him. Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry to hear that, Inko said softly, walking over to the girl and gave her a gentle hug. It's okay. Deku and I already talked about it and I'm starting to feel a little better now because of it. He knows just what to say to make me happy. He's my hero, after all, Ochako confessed, returning the hug and softly giggling when she heard her boyfriend's startled grunt, knowing full well that he wasn't expecting her to admit that. I bet, he's my little hero as well, and I couldn't be prouder, Inko agreed, letting go of her hold on Ochako and gave her son a tight embrace as well, before suddenly ending it with a look of surprise on her face. Oh my, I almost forgot. Speaking of heroes, one of your teachers, Mr. All Might, showed up just little bit ago asking for you too. All Might was here, the couple exclaimed, justifiably surprised by the visit from the former hero. Yes, but he didn't stay long. He just wished to know if you two managed to come here safely along with dropping off a few things. He got a present for both me and Izuku, which I placed under the tree, and handed me another one to give to you, Ochako. He told me to give it to you as soon as possible, but he didn't tell me why before he departed. Give me a moment to go and get it, Inko explained, her words making the pair stare at her in shock before rushing out the room, this time holding a rectangular box in her hands. A box that Ochako knew all too well. What? That's Deku's present. That's the Christmas present that I got for him. All Might found it, the girl explained, her eye bugging out at the sight of the missing gift and missing Izuku's own look of surprise. Oh my, this is my son's gift. I had no idea. I suppose that's why All Might didn't want me to keep it under the tree, Inko mused, staring at the box for a moment before turning back to Ochako with a kind smile and placed the parcel in her arms, right next to the frame. Here, sweetie, you know what to do with it. Go ahead and take your time, as well. I'll be in the living room if either of you need me. Take care, you too. With all that said and a loving key on the crown of her head similar to her own mother's acts, Ochako watched as Inko did the same action to her son, wishing the both of them a Merry Christmas before leaving the room, closing the door as she departed. Now alone with her boyfriend again, the gravity manipulator started to process what had just occurred. Not only did Inko showed up and made her feel better, but All Might of all individuals arrived as well, albeit without her knowing and only for a brief moment, with her present for Izuku, no less. It was like something out of a fairy tale to her, it was so unbelievable. She couldn't help but smile brightly at the turn of her luck, and hug both the box and her new frame close to her chest, before turning to Izuku happily. Well, Deku, looks like you're getting that present I got you after all. Go ahead and open it, if y'all want, she chirped, handing the stunned teen the crimson box and watched in anticipation as he stared at it with those big eyes of his. She couldn't remove the eagerness in her face as he saw him slowly open his gift, and the look on his face when he saw what she got him made her smile so wide her face began to hurt, but she didn't care. She was truly happy to have successfully surprised him with her gift, and the expression he had was something she was going to treasure for a long time to come. Uraraka, he muttered her name softly as he turned to her, holding the crimson muffler gently in his hands. Hee, I promised the next thing I make was for you, didn't I? I just didn't say I was already working on it. I managed to finish it this morning and I even put in your initials on the ends in English. Check it out, Ochako explained, showing off the best, in her opinion, feature of the scarf, enticing a soft laugh and pleasant smile from Izuku as he did what she had asked, and let off a small sound of amazement in response. Oh wow, this is really awesome, Uraraka. I bet this had taken a long time for you to make, huh? He asked, turning to her with an impressed look on his face. Kinda, but it was worth it to see you light up like that. I actually got the idea for the scarf from that same martial arts show we saw together. The one that gave you the idea for the photo and frame. I guess great minds think alike, huh? Ochako pointed out, holding her treasured gift proudly like a trophy and getting a laugh out of Izuku. Can't argue with that, he agreed as he wrapped the muffler around his neck, making it nice and comfortable before presenting himself to her. So, how do I look? You look perfect, Deku. I knew red was the right color for you, Ochako praised, looking quite proud of her work and how well it suited the super strength teen. Haha, thanks, Izuku said softly, looking down at his present with a small smile and gentle hold before returning his attention back to her with a fond gaze. I love this gift, Ochako. I know I said you didn't have to get me anything, but it does mean a lot that you care about me enough to hand make your present to me. I have no idea what I've done to deserve someone like you, but I'm lucky that you chose me to be with. Luck had nothing to do with it, Deku. It was all you. Your personality, your actions, pretty much everything you've done drew me into you, and while I did resist initially to preserve our friendship and focus on our future, I'm glad I took the plunge and confessed. And so happy that you feel the same way, Ochako said kindly with shimmering eyes, feeling a little emotional and gripping her gift closer to her chest as she spoke, before walking slowly up to Izuku and gently grabbed his new scarf. Hey, Izuku. Why yes, oh Ochako. he questioned gently, understandably taken aback by her use of his first name. She rarely called him that, after all, but she felt it would fit the situation, and gave the young hero, her hero, the warmest smile she ever had. "Thanks for the gift, and Merry Christmas. I love you," she finally said before pulling him down by the scarf and captured his lips with her own in a sweet key. It was short, almost chaste in a way, but no less meaningful, as all their kisses in the past were. There was a rush that she might never get used to, but it was enjoyable all the same. After a few moments, she ended the key asterisk, her face red but her smile brighter than ever, and as she looked up to her boyfriend, she could only giggle softly at his dazed expression and face as red as his new muffler. "Ah, why you're welcome. I love you too, and Merry Christmas as well, I guess," he stammered, looking quite bashful and shaking his head slightly to recompose himself, much to her amusement. I'm glad you like my gift so much. I like seeing you so happy like this, and I think you'll find your birthday gift just as enjoyable, if not more so." "Oh, Deku, did you seriously went and got me a separate gift just for my birthday?" "You didn't have to do that," Ochako asked, now feeling a little guilty for making her boyfriend essentially go through double the effort to please her. "I know, but I want to. You're worth the effort. You're my hero, too, after all," he said smoothly, making Ochako blush again before leaning into his chest with an embarrassed groan. "No fair. When the heck did you get so cool and charming?" she grumbled, feeling him laugh and letting off a content sigh as he began rubbing her head affectionately. Advice from Todoroki and Yaoyorozu. They're surprisingly knowledgeable about this stuff despite their own romantic issues with each other, Izuku confessed, earning a sputtering laugh out of Ochako as she imagined the creation and hot and cold heroes trying to give her boyfriend dating tips while simultaneously hiding their own feelings for one another. "Yeah, those two are pretty obvious, huh?" she said after calming down from her fit before she felt her phone vibrate in her skirt. Letting go of Izuku, she checked the caller ID and smiled brightly once more once she saw who it was. "Oh hey, it's Dad. I bet he and Mom are calling to say Merry Christmas. Sorry, Deku, but can you give me a moment? I won't be long." "Sure, Uraraka, take your time. I'll be in the living room with Mom, if you need me," Izuku said, a soft, yet odd smile gracing his lips as he gave her the okay, before leaving the room. While grateful for his understanding, she couldn't help but be a little confused by that smile of his. It was almost knowing, in a way, as if he was aware of something that she didn't. Something regarding her parents, of all things. She shook her head at the thought, though. While her folks and boyfriend did get along, the young man still got quite nervous if he spent a long time with either of her parents, especially her father. She didn't blame him, though. The man could be a bit overwhelming at times, even to her, but she loved him all the same. In the end, it didn't matter. Right now, she had her parents on the other line and she couldn't wait to talk to them. She had quite the Christmas story to tell them. "So, you two managed to make it here safely, right?" "We did, thankfully. We had a few complications on the way here thanks to the weather, but luckily that dragon hero our daughter's interning for helped us out immensely. We're really grateful to her and to All Might as well for setting us up for a hotel room last night. Even when retired, that man is still a great hero." "Yeah, they are great, huh? Yukyu's been helping me a lot ever since Night Eye, well, you know. And All Might's been a major help to both of us since the beginning. He even stopped by my house on Christmas Eve to drop off a few things, including something that Ochako lost back at the dorm. She was really grateful for that." "Haha, we know. We were actually informed about everything a couple days ago by our daughter herself. It was quite a tale, let me tell you. Everything. Does that include what I said to her before All Might?" "Of course, you know as well as I do that she doesn't skip on the details when it comes to you and what you've done for her. You're all she ever talks about these days." "Are really? Of course. Don't sound too shocked, boy. She loves ya, after all, so it's not all that surprising." "Ah, right, hee. Still not used to hearing the word love so constantly, boy." Reminds me of myself when I first started going out with my eventual wife. Guess we're more similar than we thought, Ha. I guess, sir. None of that formal talk, boy. I told you to call me Dad. You and my girl are in it for the long haul after all. You understood, sir. I mean, Dad. Relax, son, I'm just teasing ya. Speaking of my girl, is she nearby? If she is, then we're in for an earful once everything's said and done. Actually, she's not here. Mom took her out for the day for a bit of a girl's day out so that I can set everything up without her knowing. Took a little convincing from us, but we managed to get her to go. Ha, I can imagine. My little girl's quite stubborn when she wants to be. Yeah, she is, sometimes, but that's what makes her so amazing, among other things. Spoken like a true man in love, son. I knew there was a reason why I like ya. Well, it's time for me to hang up. The weather's clear, but who knows how long it'll last. My wife's off checking us out of the hotel right now, so we're booking it to your place as soon as we can. See ya soon. Thanks, Dad. Have a safe trip. Click. At the sound of the dial tone, Izuku let off a soft chuckle and shook his head before at the nearby window in his room, watching the gray clouds with a sense of content as he pulled up his recently obtained crimson muffler closer to his face to keep with a smile on his face. It has been a few days since Christmas Eve, the day he brought his ever-excitable girlfriend over to stay for winter break, and it had been an enjoyable, if slightly nerve-wracking, time for them both. Due to the weather, the couple had spent both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day indoors, simply sticking close to each other to stay warm while sharing stories and hot chocolate with his mother Inko all the while. Although enjoyable, it did result in the woman gushing at how adorable the pair was, wondering if a wedding was going to be planned right after graduation, and teasing Izuku about sharing his bed with Ochako during their stay, which resulted in much stammering and cherry-red faces from the couple. They shared a bed before. They've been together long enough to be at least somewhat comfortable with the idea so long as nobody said anything out loud, but it was usually reserved for Ochako's room, as she confessed that sleeping in her boyfriend's arms while also being stared at by multiple faces of All Might creeped her out quite a bit, especially the ones that could talk. Maybe I can store some of my merchandise to help make her feel comfortable. A few posters and some models might be a good start. Or maybe I could replace them with other heroes instead to balance everything out. If I do that, though, then I'm going to have to buy more merch, and I'm not sure if I have enough room in the dorm. Maybe if I bring some stuff back to my room, it will help, but I don't know what I can swap out. Izuku began mumbling under his breath, debating to himself on what he should do with his multitude of All Might memorabilia before suddenly growling and shook his head. No, can't get distracted. Got to get everything ready for her before she and Mom get back. Now where did Mom say she kept the cookbook? Finally focused on his supposed task, the young man walked out of his geeky room, removing his scarf and placing it on his desk, right beside a special silver picture frame. He paused for a moment, staring at the two photos of him and Ochako in the frame with a small smile on his face, before exiting the door. He still couldn't get over the fact that the both of them got their ideas for each other's gift from the same show. It really was quite a coincidence. Some may even say it was fate, but Izuku himself wasn't much of a believer of it. His short time with Night Eye proved that fate can be changed. The young man shook his head to rid himself of the negative thoughts that were about to fill his mind before stopping at a drawer in the kitchen and pulled out a large cookbook from it. Thinking of his late mentor always brought his mood down. But the pain wasn't as bad as it initially was. He was slowly and surely getting over it, and he was aware that Ochako was affected by the man's death as well, since she was the one who carried his dying body to the surface to get him aid. It took a while for them, along with Kirishima and Tsuyu, to recover from the incident, but a few pep talks from each other, their friends, their teachers, and even their parents, helped them move on, and they were grateful for their aid. At the mental mention of parents, the young man couldn't help but recall a certain memory from the end of Christmas. It was something that both warmed his heart, and made it hurt at the same time. After all, even when being with a loved one and a person who considers you family, it wasn't the same as spending Christmas with your own family. Flashback, Christmas night. Sounds like Ida's having a fun Christmas with his family. That's great. It's good that his brother's able to spend the holiday with him and enjoy it, even after what happened to him. Izuku mumbled to himself as he stared down at the phone with a smile on his face, happy that one of his best friends was enjoying himself on the festive holiday. Oh, Izuku, there you are. What are you doing here in the kitchen and not at the living area with Ochako? Inko asked, her voice carrying a touch of confusion that caught the young hero's attention. Ah, sorry, Mom. Just had a talk with Iida and I had to take it here so that I wouldn't disturb Ochako. He's enjoying Christmas right now and spending time with his brother. It's been a while since I've heard him sounding so happy, and I'm glad he's having fun, even after everything that's happened to him and his older brother, Izuku explained easily, his words making his mother smile as she walked closer to her son and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, which was covered by a certain handmade scarf. That's good, sweetie. It's nice to hear that your friends are enjoying Christmas as well. Inko said with a soft smile of her own before looking over to the direction of the living room, specifically the couch, with a fond expression. Especially a certain someone who's staying with us. You did the right thing bringing her with us for the break instead of letting her stay in the dorms by herself. No one deserves to be sad and alone on Christmas. I know. That's why I brought her. There was no way I was going to leave her after she told me about her ruined trip home. She deserves so much after everything that's happened. I just hope she'll like what I have planned for her birthday in a couple days, Izuku muttered, looking over at the couch and eyeing the small tuft of brunette hair that he was able to see. I'm sure she will, sweetie. She enjoyed today well enough, didn't she? Her birthday is going to go well. I know it, Inko assured, gently patting her son's head. Now, it's getting late. Why don't you head off to bed? You need your rest if you want tomorrow to go well. And don't forget to take Ochako with you. Poor girl exhausted herself today and I doubt she'll be comfortable sleeping on the couch. All right, Mom. The young hero sighed as he got up from his chair and quietly made his way to the couch. Once there, he was greeted by a sight so adorable he felt his heart clench at the sight of it. Ochako was passed out on the couch, one hand on her belly, the other dangling over the edge, and her usual bedtime mittens on to prevent any sleep floating from happening while using an odd-looking pink handmade sweater her parents sent her for Christmas as a blanket. Her loungewear was disheveled, her hair was a mess, and there was a bit of drool leaking from her mouth, but to Izuku, she looked so damn cute he could barely think straight. He didn't have the heart to wake her, but he knew he had to, lest she wake up sore from sleeping in such an uncomfortable position. I told her making a snowman half the size of the apartment complex would be exhausting. I didn't even know there was that much snow in the area until she floated it to us. That snowball fight and snow angel competition we had at the park didn't help either. At least she had fun in the end, and the landlord liked it a lot, too. You always know how to brighten someone's day, don't you, Ochako? Izuku thought fondly as he continued to stare at the girl in his couch, trying to burn the image of her sleeping form in his memory before reluctantly reaching over to her and shook her arm, getting a soft whine out of her in the process. 5 more minutes, Daddy, she muttered, getting another chuckle out of Izuku as she snuggled closer into her makeshift blanket before letting off a soft snore. She's really out of it, this time. Looks like I have to carry her to bed, again, Izuku mumbled to himself before kneeling down to her and gently moved her in his arms with little effort, a ting of red on his face as he felt her snuggle up to him. Ooh, Izuku, that's so adorable. The young man heard a faint, gleeful whisper, and turned his head to see his mother standing nearby with a massive smile on her face and her hands together as if in a prayer, and he couldn't help but laugh sheepishly at her actions. Yeah, she has that effect on people. I'm lucky to have her, Izuku stated, his tone soft and affectionate as he looked at the girl in his arms warmly, silently amused by his mother's quiet squeal, before turning back to him. I'm going to tuck her in before heading to sleep. Do you remember what you have to do for the plan, Mom? Of course, dear, you can count on me. I'll make sure she and I are away long enough for you to get everything ready. It's been a while since I've had a girl's day out, and who better to spend it with than my future daughter-in-law? Mom, relax, Izuku. I'm simply teasing. I am proud of you for doing all of this for her, though. You remind me so much of your father when you act like this. Just try not to stress too much over everything tomorrow and everything will turn out well. I know it, Inko assured, making her son smile in response. Thanks, Mom, I really appreciate it. Have a good night, Izuku said kindly before heading into his room, hearing his mother wish him a good night as well as he gently closed his door and placed the slumbering girl on his bed, blinking when she suddenly began to giggle. Hee, Mama, this sweater is so ugly. Thanks for making it for me, Ochako muttered in her sleep as soon as she was on the bed, further snuggling up to her sweater with a wide, slightly drooly smile on her face, making Izuku chuckle quietly at her actions. Wow, she really does love her parents, huh, he mumbled, patting her hair affectionately and giving her a soft kiss on her forehead. As soon as he did, she began muttering in her sleep again, talking about her parents once more and how much she loved and missed them. It made him feel a little bad, knowing that despite his attempts to make the girl he loved happy today, it still didn't change the fact that her family was not able to be with her outside of a Christmas phone call and a traditional ugly Christmas sweater that was handmade and mailed to her by her mother. It was more luck than anything that it even arrived in time, and when she got the sweater, she ended up bursting in tears mixed with happiness and sorrow, overjoyed that she got a present from her parents, but upset that she wasn't able to thank them in person. It pained him to see her so conflicted, but if things go right, then he wouldn't need to worry about her happiness and guilt for much longer. Just wait a little bit more, Ochako, in a couple days you are going to have the best birthday ever, and I will do whatever I can to make sure it goes well. I'll make you truly happy on that day. I promise, Izuku whispered, gently stroking the sleeping girl's cheek before letting go, a small blush on his face before going down to the futon he laid in his room. He just had to wait one more day to put his plans into motion. It was going to be a tough task, especially since he was doing it himself, but he was willing to do whatever it takes to ensure the day would be perfect for Ochako. If anyone deserves to be happy, it was her, and he was going to make it happen, because she was worth all the time and effort. End flashback. Just you wait, Ochako. I promise that you'll have the best birthday ever. I know you'll love it, Izuku muttered, a soft smile on his face as the memory of Christmas night passed. Now more determined than ever, he shifted even harder in the drawer, smiling widely as he pulled out the cookbook he was looking for. Placing it on the counter, he began leafing through the pages, looking for the perfect cake to make for his girlfriend. Ah, here we go. This should work, he exclaimed happily, finding a recipe that would be perfect for Ochako. Reading over the list of ingredients, he nodded to himself before heading towards the refrigerator to search for what he needed. This shouldn't be too hard. It's been a while since I've actually baked something, but it shouldn't be too hard to get back into it, even if it has a few layers on it. The young man thought to himself as he pulled out a few of the items he needed, namely some strawberries, milk, and some leftover icing that his mother used for the Christmas cake she made. If he had to be honest with himself, he would have preferred to make his one icing for the cake, but he didn't really have the time to make it due to wanting to have everything a surprise for Ochako, so he simply told his mother to make extra for today instead. Nodding to himself at his forethought, he then went over to the other cabinets to gather the rest of his ingredients, happy to see that everything was all accounted for. Perfect. All I have to do is follow the recipe and everything will go smoothly, he said to himself as he grabbed the various products, such as vanilla extract and baking soda, and placed them on the counter, before pausing for a brief moment to stare at the direction of the apartment front door in curiosity. I wonder how Mom and Ochako are doing right now. I hope they're having a great time together. With Ochako and Inko, shopping district cafe. Quote. Dear, is something wrong? You barely touched your tea. Huh, oh, sorry, Inko. Just got distracted by something. I'm okay. Okay, dear, if you say so. Ochako gave the kind woman before her a reassuring smile before taking a sip from her cup, hoping to put both her and the mother at ease. It had been a few hours since she and Inko had started the birthday girl's day out, as Inko called it, and while she did enjoy it, she found it a little odd by how insistent her host was in having a day to themselves. She didn't really mind. She enjoyed her company and was fun to spend time with, but what she found odd was how nonchalant her boyfriend was in allowing his mother to essentially steal his girlfriend for the day, and on her birthday of all things. When the day started, she honestly thought that Izuku was going to be the one to take her out all day to have fun, but instead, it was another Midoriya who did so, while he stayed behind, saying he had to take care of a few things first but promised to be home when they arrived. All in all, she couldn't help but be suspicious of what was going on, and it seemed that her attitude regarding that was catching Inko's attention. She really needed to learn how to hide her emotions better. Ochako, huh, she grunted out, becoming immediately nervous when she noticed that Inko was staring at her once again with a concerned expression. Oh, sorry, Inko, I guess I'm not all there today, Sorry I'm not making our outing all that fun. Don't be sorry, dear. It's perfectly natural to feel this way. I'm aware that I am no substitute for my son nor your own parents. I'm happy that you did agree to spend the day together with me, though, so I'm grateful for that. Inko said, a small, sad smile on her face that immediately made the birthday girl distressed and guilty at her words. And no, Inko, it's not that. I'm happy to be with you. Honest, I just, Ochako began before looking down in shame. Yeah, I do miss my parents. And I did want to spend the day with Deku. Sorry for making you upset, ma'am. I really did enjoy the day with you. Honest, it's been a while since I've had fun like this. It's the first time you're spending not only Christmas, but your birthday as well, without your parents. I'm aware. Izuku told me how close you were with them, and it's so good to see that you love them as much as you do. To the point where you're training to be a hero so that you could provide for them. It's such an admirable trait, you know. I can see why my little boy loves you so much, Inko said warmly, making the girl blink at her in surprise before she looked down again, this time in mild embarrassment and with her rosy cheeks darker than normal. Thanks, Inko. I'm happy to hear that, Ochako muttered, taking a tentative sip from her cup, before looking at the woman curiously. Speaking of Deku, can you tell me what he's doing? I've known for a while that he's been planning something for both Christmas and my birthday ever since he got me to stay with him, but he's been very tight-lipped about everything. I'm hoping he's not doing anything too drastic or extravagant. I don't want him to overwork himself for me. Even if he is overworking himself for you, I know for a fact that he would say that it was worth it just to make you happy. It's the kind of person he is, and I know you're aware of that. Inko said, giggling slightly when Ochako let off a slightly exasperated groan. You don't have to worry about Izuku wearing himself out, though. I know what he's planning, but it isn't really that stressful to him. It's actually something he used to do with me from time to time in the past, so there's nothing for you to worry about. Really, can you tell me what it is? Ochako asked eagerly, hoping to learn something new about her boyfriend. Sorry, dear, but I've been sworn to secrecy. You'll find out about your surprises when we're done with our outing, Inko said with a giggle, making Ochako groan in annoyance before perking up, the last bit of the mother's words replaying in her head. Did you say surprises? As in more than one? She asked, her eyes narrowing in suspicion when she noticed the portly woman suddenly began to pale for a moment before attempting to give her a reassuring smile that looked way too similar to Izuku's on nervous grins. Did I say that? You must be imagining things, dear. Oh, you finished your tea. Let me go pay for our drinks and head out. Please give me a moment, she said in a hurried fashion before practically rushing out of the table and towards the counter to make the payment, making the girl even more suspicious. Deku, just what the heck are you planning? Must be something big if ya got your mother involved. Ochako muttered to herself, her accent slipping out as she stared at her host with a flat expression before letting off a sigh. I really hope he doesn't go overboard like he did for Halloween. I'm still feeling guilty that he spent so much money for our costumes and the contest, even if we did win a free date to the movies in the end. I guess I'll just have to take Inko's word that he's not doing anything extravagant, I guess. With Izuku, Midoriya residence. On there. Perfect. Ochako's going to definitely love this, Izuku said, stepping back from his project with a bright smile to admire and inspect his work. It was a massive 3-layer cake that appeared to have came out of a bakery. It was a white cake baked to a golden brown with pink buttercream icing with multiple cut strawberries scattered all around it and even a bit of strawberry syrup drizzled around to give it a bit of flavor and presentation. It may be simple in design, but it was a masterpiece that took the young man the majority of the day to get done, and he was happy with the work he put into it. It was perfect in his eyes, and nothing short of what Ochako deserved, in his opinion. That was pretty fun. I've forgotten how much I liked doing stuff like this. Maybe I can convince Zero to let me help him out with his sweets sometime to get in some extra practice. Izuku mused to himself, mumbling about the different kinds of confectionaries he and the sugar hero could come up with, when he heard the sound of his door being knocked, making him turn to the direction of it curiously. Who could that be? It's not Mom and Ochako. They won't be back for a little while longer. And it's too soon for Mr. and Mrs. Uraraka to get here. He thought to himself as he took off his apron and set it on the counter next to the cake before heading towards the door. Once there, he opened it, and was greeted by the sight of a few someones he was not expecting to see until the end of winter break. Midoriya, good to see you're still here. Will you allow us to come in? The booming voice of Iida asked, making the timid teen stumble back in surprise, while also noticing that Tsuyu, Mina, and Kirishima were also among the guests that had suddenly arrived, all of them holding a present of some kind in their hands and smiling at Izuku. Oh, of course you can come in. I'm just surprised you're here. I had no idea you all were coming to visit, Izuku exclaimed as he moved out of the way to let his classmates in. It was Iida's idea. He wanted us to do something for Uraraka's birthday, but we wanted to keep it a surprise from both you and her since he said you already had something planned. We felt bad that she wasn't able to go home for break, so we decided to surprise her with a visit for her birthday. Kirishima explained with a roguish grin, getting a surprised look from Izuku. Yup, the others wanted to come, but they had other plans for break that they couldn't bail out on. They did get a card and signed it for her, though. It's pretty awesome, Mina explained cheerfully as she brought out a space-themed birthday card and opened to show the names of the other members of 1A inside, even Bakugo's angry scrawl, making Izuku blink a couple times before a warm smile began forming on his face. Thanks, guys. It's good to see you all here. I know I mean Uraraka would definitely be happy seeing you all here in the card. She's out with my mom right now, but when she gets back, I know she'll be surprised by your visit, Izuku said kindly, gesturing everyone to the living area after they took off their shoes. There's no need to be formal around here, Midoriya. It's your home and we're all friends, so take it easy. Ribbit, Tsuyu said before looking over at her fellow green-haired buddy curiously. Were you in the middle of baking? You got some flour on you. Oh yeah, I was finishing Ochako's cake just now. It's in the kitchen if you want to see it, Izuku explained in a rare tone of pride that surprised his fellow heroes in training, before leading them to where said cake was, and the quartet couldn't help but gape at the massiveness of it. Dude, did you seriously make this on your own? Holy crap, you can give Sato a run for his money with this thing, Kirishima exclaimed, letting off an impressed whistle. Indeed, you have a knack for baking, Midoriya. You and Sato should definitely collaborate on a baking project for all of us at the dorm to enjoy in the future, Iida said, looking at his best friend with pride. I was actually thinking about that when you guys showed up. I'm still a little rusty with baking, though, so I doubt I'm at Sato's level, but I would like to work with him on something when we go back to the dorms. Izuku agreed. If you call this rusty, then I can only imagine what you can make when you're in your prime, Mina muttered, staring at the cake analytically before nodding in approval. Gotta say, though, it looks and smells super amazing. I bet Ochako's going to love it. Looks more like a wedding cake than a birthday cake, if you ask me, but I suppose it's the thought that counts, Tsuyu said bluntly, her words making Izuku flustered immediately as soon as he processed her words. Wedding. BB, but we just started dating a few months ago. It's too soon to be thinking about things LL like that, Izuku exclaimed, flailing his arms around wildly as he backstepped towards the table that held his cake, completely unaware of his own movements, much to the horror of his classmates. Midoriya, cease your movements now, Iida shouted at the top of his lungs, making his poor friend jump back in surprise and hitting his spine on the table, making him yelp in pain before falling to the floor while holding his back, not noticing that his large cake was toppling towards him. "Shoot, I got it," Hiroshima exclaimed before jumping into the kitchen and grabbed the falling cake from the base, preventing it from going over but leaving his handprints on it as a result, and forgetting about the other layers of the cake until they slipped off the base, striking Izuku on the head and making him covered in icing and strawberries as a result. "Oh crap, Midori, are you doing okay there?" Mina asked as she and the others kneeled down to check in on their cake-covered friend, frowning when they saw him trembling. "This figures. I had a feeling that today was going too well. I should have guessed something like this was going to happen," Izuku mumbled, a cloud of depression reigning over him as the others looked to each other, wondering what they could do to make him feel better. "Midoriya, I'm sorry for what I said about the cake. I was just saying what was on my mind at the time. It looked really good, honest. I didn't know it would make you embarrassed," Tsuyu croaked apologetically. "It's not your fault, Asui. I should be used to stuff like that by now. Kaminari and the others always teased us when the wedding is. I thought words like that wouldn't affect me as much as it did. Guess I was wrong," Izuku assured as he slowly got back up, with Iida and Kirishima helping him on the way. "Hey, don't think about that stuff, man. You've gotten much better than when you two first got together. You invited your girlfriend to your home for break after finding out she couldn't go to her own home. If that ain't a sign of manliness and progress in a relationship, I don't know what is," Hiroshima said with a grin and thumbs up before wincing when he saw the icing that was still in his hands. "Oh, and, sorry for not being able to save the cake. You can blame that on me, since I wasn't quick enough to get it. Do not fret, Kirishima. With how the cake was created, it would have been difficult for you to rescue the entirety of it on your own. I should have assisted you as well to prevent such a travesty to occur." Iida chimed in, bowing deeply at both Izuku and Kirishima for his lack of aid. "It's fine, you guys. Don't apologize. Ochako warned me not to go overboard with her birthday, after all. I guess this is someone's way of proving that point. I can make another cake for her as soon as I get this mess cleaned up," Izuku assured as Tsuyu approached him with a towel to wipe the remains of the top layers of cake off of him. "Who said you need to bake another cake, Midori?" Mina spoke up, causing everyone to turn to her curiously as she pointed at the remaining piece of the cake. "The base is still okay, and it's pretty big, too. With just a bit of icing to fix up Kirishima's handprints and a bit of creativity, we can salvage this cake to use for Ochako's birthday instead." "Brilliant, Ashido," Iida exclaimed readily, making the others flinch at his loudness once more. "Such a simple, yet ingenious idea. You may have saved this birthday yet. Midoriya, do you believe you have enough baking supplies to do as Ashido suggested?" Yeah, I think I do, but," Izuku trailed off, looking at the remaining layer with uncertainty. "While I'm okay with making cakes, I'm not that good with decorating them. I can't think of anything to make her cake presentable." "Then allow us to help with this, son. It's the least we can do after everything you've done," a booming voice announced, making everyone jump in surprise before they turned to the source of it, all of them going wide-eyed in surprise by who spoke to them. Especially Izuku. What? Why you're here already? Mid-afternoon, Midoriya residence bottom floor. "So, dear, how did you enjoy your day with an old woman like me?" Inko asked kindly, she and Ochako walking up the stairs of the complex with a few bags in their hands. "You're not old, Inko. You're as young as ever. And I really did have a lot of fun with you today, even though I brought the mood down earlier," Ochako assured, giving the woman a kind smile to placate her. "You're too sweet, Ochako. Just like my son. I bet your parents are lucky to have a daughter as wonderful as you," Inko said warmly as the couple reached the door, setting the bags down to get her keys as the birthday girl nodded in agreement, her smile turning somewhat sad at the mention of her parents. "Yeah, I'm lucky to have parents like them. And Deku's lucky to have a parent as strong as you, Inko. I can't even imagine how hard it must have been raising a child all on your own." "It must have been difficult," Ochako pointed out, grabbing the bags that Inko placed on the floor with ease to help her out. I'm not that strong, dear, but it's nice to hear you say that, Inko said kindly with a hint of melancholy in her tone, making Ochako look at her in surprise before she entered into the home. Hurry inside, Ochako. It's not as bad as these last few days, but it's still very cold out. You don't want to get sick on your special day, do you? I'm sure my son is waiting for you inside. Oh, coming, Ochako exclaimed, rushing into the home and quickly took off her shoes before noticing something odd in the apartment immediately. Hey, why are the lights off? Did we get a power outage? I'm not sure. Izuku didn't say anything when I called him earlier. Must have happened recently, Inko answered, a tiny smile on her face that was hidden in the dark as she walked further inside. Come on, let's look for my son. I'm sure he'll have the answer to what's going on. You can place the bags to the side if you want. All right, if you say so. Ochako relented, setting the parcels down and followed the woman as well as she could, her eyes still adjusting to the darkness. Walking in the quiet, shadowed apartment was making her both nervous and suspicious, especially since during the entire time of their outing, Izuku had not called her once. In fact, he didn't even call his own mother, it was her that called to check up on him, and while it was reassuring, it didn't really answer anything, especially when Inko was being quite vague about what she and her son was talking about. She had been suspicious about the mother-son pair for a while now, ever since the talk at the cafe, and she felt like she knew exactly what was going on. They've set up a surprise party for me. I know it has all the signs and everything, she thought as she continued to follow Inko, rounding the corner with the woman and making it towards what she assumed was the kitchen. I told him not to go overboard with this stuff, but I guess this is just how he works. I hope he didn't hurt himself getting everything set up. I swear, if he injured himself in any way while preparing everything, I'm gonna. Surprise. The moment those words were said, the lights in the apartment suddenly came to life, blinding the girl temporarily and making her yelp in surprise. As soon as she managed to calm herself, she blinked a couple times to adjust her eyes, and after a moment, was greeted by the sight of a decorated kitchen, streamers and balloons hanging in the air, a small banner that said, "Happy Birthday," suspended in the air, and, most importantly, a few of her friends from UA, all of them with bright smiles on their faces and making her very confused. Gee guys, what the heck are you all doing here? Shouldn't you be at your houses right now? She couldn't help but ask, looking rightfully lost at their appearance. We're here for your birthday, silly. We wanted to surprise you, so we got together and smaller the trip over here as soon as you decided to stay with Midori for the break. We even managed to get some decorations in at the last minute. He didn't know we were coming either, so we managed to pull off a double surprise. Mina explained with a massive grin, making Ochako well up at the thoughtfulness of her friends. We got you presents as well, Ribbit. And the ones who weren't able to make it signed a birthday card for you, sending you their regards. Suyu chimed in, pointing at the presents beside the refrigerator while Kirishima pulled out the card and happily gave it to the birthday girl, who gasped in shock from the sight of it. Iida was the one who came up with the card theme, while I went and got the others to sign it. It took a bit to get some of the others, mostly Bakugo, but I got it done. Hope you like it, the hardening hero explained, opening the card to show the names of the others, making Ochako smile widely as she grabbed the card and held it gently, reading the names of the others as she tried her hardest to keep the tears in her eyes from falling. I see you enjoy the gift, Uraraka, but it's not over yet. After all, there is still Midoriya and his contribution. Can't forget him. Iida spoke up, walking up to the girl and placed a hand on her shoulder as she looked at him curiously. Deku, she said softly, looking around the kitchen for the only other person left that should be inside the apartment. The only Midoriya that she saw, however, was Inko, who was smiling sweetly as she approached her and grabbed her in a warm embrace. Izuku's here. He just wants to make sure your gift was ready. Sorry for keeping you from him, but this was something he's been planning for some time. I hope you're not upset, she said kindly, ending the embrace to stare at Ochako apologetically. It's fine, Inko, I'm just a little overwhelmed right now. I knew you two were up to something since back at the cafe. Both of you can be very bad when it comes to hiding stuff. Ochako said, giggling slightly at the look of disbelief on the mother's face. Actually, I think I've gotten better at it, Ochako. At least well enough to hide this from you. Recognizing the voice and giggling at the rare tone of pride, Ochako turned her head to the direction of her boyfriend's voice, and became so surprised that she nearly fainted from shock. There, right before her, holding a large pink decorated cake with candles on top, was Izuku. The young man had a proud smile on his face, looking quite happy as he stared at his stunned girlfriend. Beside him were her parents, the both of them having massive grins on their faces as they placed a hand on Izuku's shoulders and waving at their daughter, who was slowly snapping out of her shock and started to cry a little. Mama, Daddy, you're really here. Is this a dream? Ochako whispered, trying desperately to stop her tears from falling, but to no avail. Of course this isn't a dream, honey. We're here, and it's thanks to your boyfriend here. Mrs. Uraraka said kindly as Mr. Uraraka began laughing loudly as he slapped Izuku on his back, making him stumble slightly but managed to not let the cake fall again. You got a real keeper here, Ochako. This guy went and convinced your mentor and teacher to bring us here so that we can see you. I don't know how he's done it, but he did, and now we're here to celebrate the day you made me and your mother the happiest people alive, just as we always done. Happy birthday, sweetheart, the jolly man stated, he and his wife moving in front of Izuku and spread their arms out. The moment they did that, Ochako lost what little self-control she had left, and rushed into her parents' arms without shame. She was crying tears of joy as she reunited with her parents as this occurred. Izuku managed to move away from the emotional family and placed the cake on the table, proud that was able to move the cake without dropping it again, and look at his mother and friends with a smile. I never seen her so happy before. I knew she missed her parents, but I didn't think she'd act like this. Mina muttered, smiling softly at the embracing family before her. Ochako's always been close to her parents, just as I'm close to my little siblings. I'm not surprised she would act like this. You definitely made this the best birthday ever for her, Midoriya. Tsuyu croaked while giving Izuku a nod of approval. It's nothing, really. I just want her to be happy. And nothing makes her happier than being with her parents. Any of you guys can do it. Izuku shrugged, not seeing what he did was anything special, when he was suddenly trapped in a one-armed hug by Kirishima. Are you kidding, dude? There's no way any of us can pull off what you did. You freaking made her day with bringing her folks over. Give yourself a bit of credit, he stated, Iida nodding rapidly at the words. Kirishima is correct, Midoriya. Be proud that you have brightened Uraraka's birthday into a day she will never forget. You have worked hard to make it happen, so bask in our praise and congratulate yourself on a job well done. Iida stated with utmost confidence that Izuku could only stare at him in utter surprise. Listen to your friends, dear. You really did plan this whole day from start to finish, and it turned out well. I remember the small accident that you told me about, but even that was taken care of rather quickly. I'm proud of what you have accomplished, sweetie, and I know Ochako is more than happy that it was you who did all this, Inko said in a sure tone, making Izuku look at her oddly before he was suddenly knocked out of Kirishima's hold and into a surprise embrace from Ochako, who was still crying a little, but the brightest smile was on her face as she squeezed her boyfriend tight. Deku, thank you so much for doing all of this. My parents told me about everything that you planned out. I had a feeling you were going to do something big, but I never imagined that you'd actually find a way to bring my parents here. How in the world did you manage to do it? The birthday girl asked. Luck, mostly. I'm honestly surprised by how well things turned out, really. Had an issue with the cake, but your parents showed up just in time to help me fix it while the others decided to decorate the house a little for you. It took a while to make sure everything was set, but it was all worth it in the end, since I got to see you this happy. Izuku stated, smiling warmly at the girl holding him before wrapping his own arms around her to complete the embrace. You made the cake, too. Seriously? Ochako asked softly, pushing him away slightly to look up at him in disbelief. He did, and holy crap was it huge. Asui said it looked more like a wedding cake and, thinking back to it, she wasn't wrong. Sad that Midoriya ended up wearing most of it in the end, but he and your folks managed to fix it up in the end. Hiroshima stated as he gestured to the cake on the table, making Ochako stare at the nicely decorated cake in question before shaking her head and looked back at her boyfriend lovingly. Deku, you are just something else, you know that. Thank you for doing all of this. Really, I love you so much, she said softly before pulling him into a key asterisk, causing the others around them to cheer or coo at the act, but she didn't care. She was too happy, as was he, for making this birthday a rousing success in the end. I love you too, Ochako. And happy birthday. Izuku responded after the key ended in a slightly dazed tone before shaking his head to snap out of it. How about we get started on the cake? I may be a bit rusty with my baking, but the parts that fell on my head tasted good enough. I'm sure the rest if it will taste even better, since your parents helped out with it. Hee, I bet. Sad that I couldn't see the original, but I'm happy with this one. Ochako said before turning to Izuku with a look of utter determination. You really set the bar high this time, Deku. Now I'm going to have to work just as hard, if not harder, to make sure your birthday goes as well as mine. And I don't want to hear any arguments from you. You already done so much for me today, so it's my turn once July comes around the corner. Ya got that? I got it. Izuku nodded, surprised by the change in her girlfriend's mood, but didn't argue with it. He knew how stubborn she was when it came to such things, so he simply allowed her to do as she wanted. If he wanted to go so far for her birthday, it's only fair that she was allowed to do the same. Good, I'll hold you to it, she chirped, giving him a quick peck on the cheek before practically bouncing off of him and rushing over to their friends, who were all wishing her happy birthday and giving her hugs while her parents and his mother walked over to the cake to get it ready to be served. As all this was happening, Izuku couldn't help the massive smile on his face. It was rare for him to feel so accomplished, but seeing his girlfriend, the one who changed his world, be so happy and carefree because of him, made him feel on top of the world. Not since completing his initial training to gain all for one did he felt even remotely this proud. The best part was that he did most of everything on his own. Sure, there were some bumps here and there, but in the end, he was successful in making Ochako the happiest girl in the world, at least for a day. He wasn't a fool. He knew happy days like this were few and far between, especially as they grow older and further risk their lives for others as heroes. It didn't matter in the end, though. He will overcome the trials the future will have, as will Ochako. They had each other. They had their family and friends. They had their mentors. And whatever difficulties they will face, they will do it together. For now, though, he'll relax. There is nothing more for him to do today but simply be with his girlfriend on her birthday. And that, for him, is more than enough. Happy birthday, Ochako. And here's to many more to come. To be continued. I hope you enjoyed this story. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.